So imagine stepping into a cage match. You are like a total amateur.
Right.
You've barely learned how to throw a proper punch, and waiting for you inside this octagon are three heavily armed elite special forces operatives.
A completely unsurvivable situation.
Exactly. According to every law of physics, combat logic, and just common sense, you should be dead in seconds. But what if you didn't just survive? What if you actually used their own bullets to forge stronger bones in real time?
That is essentially what we are looking at today.
Yeah, welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're looking at an event that completely broke the established reality of cultivation. We were dissecting the massacre at Heaven's Split Basin, where a lone fighter at the 7th layer of the soul transformation realm was cornered by 3 5th-layer spirit transformation experts.
Which is just absurd.
It really is. For you listening, this isn't just an underdog story. It's the moment a protagonist stopped being a combatant and became a natural disaster.
The sheer impossibility of this matchup just, it really cannot be overstated. In the world these sources describe, the realm charts are not just suggestions or like rough power tiers. They are the absolute laws of physics.
Right, it's a hard limit.
Exactly. Let's define the gap here. The soul transformation realm is essentially the process of refining one's spirit to interact with the physical world. It is powerful, but it is still fundamentally mortal.
Whereas spirit transformation is
An entirely different state of existence. A single 5th-layer spirit transformation cultivator can pressure an entire army just by walking onto the battlefield.
wow.
Yeah, the ambient energy of their body literally alters the environment around them. So 3 of them working in tandem should instantly erase any soul transformation cultivator. It is not a fight, it is an execution.
But our protagonist was no longer operating on those traditional realm charts, right?
Yeah.
They had crossed into this terrifying new metric, calamity output.
Calamity output, yes.
That phrase alone sets the tone. And they needed it, because the 3 people waiting for them at Heaven's Split Basin weren't just random fighters. This place was a dead crater ringed by sheer cliffs, just a perfect till box. Who exactly was waiting for them?
Well, the sources detail a perfectly balanced assassination squad of veteran killers. First, we have Han Kuang, known as the Blood Mountain Saber Lord.
The heavy hitter.
Right. He is a brutal body cultivator, someone who uses physical density and overwhelming close-range pressure. Then there is Lady Xu Ning, the Frozen Mirage matron.
And she's the support, right?
Yes, she operates as a support controller. She is an illusion and ice domain specialist whose entire focus is disrupting the opponent's soul and sensory perception. And finally, Taoist Qian Luo, the 9-bell Thunder Elder.
The artillery.
Exactly. He is the battlefield artillery, utilizing ranged lightning suppression to ensure there is literally nowhere to run.
So you have the heavy bruiser, the illusionist soul hacker, and the artillery. It is the perfect squad composition. And they didn't play with their food at all. The text says they opened the fight with a perfectly synchronized ultimate attack.
A devastating opening move.
Yeah, a mountain-cleaving slash from the bruiser, an ice illusion maze from the hacker, and a barrage of thunderbells dropping from the sky. This combination is stated to easily kill experts at their own spirit transformation level.
So, why didn't our protagonist just evaporate?
Because of a profound physiological and energetic transformation that triggered the exact moment those attacks converged, the protagonist activated a technique called the Phoenix Dragon Eclipse Sovereign State.
Which just sounds intense.
Oh, the environmental effects were staggering. The sky over the basin darkened, black-red phoenix storms spiraled upward, and bone-gold dragon ribs actually manifested behind the protagonist's back like a massive crown.
I am trying to picture that visual, and it is insane. Erupting bone-gold ribs from your back.
The aura erupted with such violent force that the stones in the basin began to levitate. But, looking intimidating doesn't stop a mountain-cleaving saber. They didn't just try to block all 3 attacks, did they? Because 3 coordinated enemies are exponentially deadlier than 3 solo fighters.
No, they understood that perfectly. They made a hyper-calculated strategic choice in a fraction of a second. Ignore the bruiser, ignore the artillery, and target Lady Xu Ning, the illusionist, first.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. That is like taking out the enemy's Wi-Fi router so their smart weapons can't talk to each other anymore.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, yes. Lady Xu Ning's illusion control acts as a force multiplier for the other 2. If your perception is trapped in her ice maze, you physically cannot dodge Han Kuang's saber or Qian Luo's lightning.
She is the glue.
Exactly. She's holding their offensive synergy together. So the protagonist utilized an optical technique referred to as the Dragon Eye, which pierces false images, to essentially blink straight through the ice maze.
And then they just neutralized her.
Right. They struck her with a Phoenix Soul Seal strike, which shattered her domain and blasted her across the basin, bleeding and unconscious.
Okay, so one controller neutralized instantly,
Yeah.
but I have a massive problem with this tactic. While they focused entirely on the illusionist, didn't they leave themselves wide open to the other two? I mean, you can't just turn your back on a guy called the Blood Mountain Saberlord in an artillery barrage of lightning.
What is fascinating here is how they handled the resulting damage, because they did leave themselves completely open, and the consequences were horrific.
Oh, man.
Han Kuang's saber cleaved the protagonist's shoulder open, slicing straight down to the bone. Simultaneously, Keen Lua's thunderbells crushed their back with a massive kinetic lightning strike.
Ouch.
For a normal cultivator, even one at a higher spirit transformation realm, those are fatal, fight-ending injuries. The skeletal structure should have been pulverized.
Wait, so they have a caved-in back and a severed shoulder.
Yeah.
How are they still standing, let alone fighting?
This brings us to the underlying mechanism of the protagonist's survival, a physiological process called rebirth override.
Rebirth override.
Yes. Cultivation magic in these sources isn't just casting spells, it is manipulating the body's internal physics. When rebirth override activates, black-red flames physically consume the fresh wounds.
Like rapid healing.
But rather than just rapidly dividing cells to heal, the technique uses the traumatic, kinetic, and elemental energy of the enemy's attacks as raw fuel.
Hold on, explain that. They are using the force of the blow that broke their bones to rebuild the bones.
It acts as a forge. Imagine a blacksmith using the heat of a burning building to forge a stronger sword. The kinetic impact of the saber and the elemental trauma of the lightning are metabolized by the black-red flames.
That is wild.
That traumatic energy powers the reforging of their dragon bone structure, making the skeleton significantly denser and stronger than it was before the strike even landed.
That is a terrifying concept. It is not just regeneration, it is real-time evolutionary adaptation. Tank and convert. So, they have weaponized their own trauma. The illusionist is down, the initial catastrophic damage has just upgraded their own skeleton, but they still have to dismantle 2 fifth-layer spirit transformation experts. Taking a hit is one thing, but how do they mount an offense?
Well, they pivot from tactical survival to pure, overwhelming physical dominance. Han Kuang realizes his ultimate strike didn't kill his target and rushes in for a second attempt.
Bad idea.
The protagonist meets him head-on with a maneuver the text calls the Dragon Dominion Grapple. They literally catch his legendary saber mid-swing by grabbing his wrist.
Catching a legendary weapon with a bare hand, that alone would break the morale of most fighters.
It does. The bone gold force generated by the protagonist's newly reforged skeleton is so immense it instantly fractures Han Kuang's arm.
Oof. Just shatters it.
It is followed immediately by an eclipse knee strike that caves Han Kuang's chest inward. The kinetic transfer is so powerful it throws the Saberlord backward into a cliff face, burying him step in the stone.
Okay, so the heavy bruiser is completely off the board, which leaves the artillery. Taoist Qin Luo. Seeing his front line fall apart, what does he do?
He attempts to control the space. He ascends high into the sky, rings all 9 of his thunderbells, and drops a kilometer-wide blanket of lightning rain.
A kilometer wide.
It is a pure area of effect suppression tactic designed to leave no physical room for evasion.
And how do you dodge a kilometer of lightning? You can't. So what is the counterplay here?
The protagonist expands their eclipse flame domain outward. To understand why this works, we have to look at the physics of lightning.
Okay, I'm with you.
Lightning relies on conductivity and the path of least resistance through the atmosphere. The eclipse domain essentially changes the atmospheric medium itself.
It changes the air.
Yes, it creates a localized vacuum of pure, suffocating heat that strips away the conductive pathways. The lightning doesn't just get blocked. It slows down, it twists, it loses its rhythm. It is forced to physically push through the space, like a solid object moving through wet cement.
That is brilliant. They changed the medium. And with the lightning slowed down to a crawl, the protagonist just leaps skyward right through the storm. The text describes them literally punching the thunderbells to pieces before knocking Qian Luo out of the sky with a second strike.
A total collapse of his offensive pressure.
It is a humiliating dismantling. Oh, and Lady Shu Ning. The illusionist regains consciousness just long enough to attempt a soul-piercing sneak attack from behind.
The protagonist's reaction here is very telling. They don't even turn around to look at her.
Yes.
They utilize calamity vision. The dragon eye essentially reads the energetic trajectory of her attack before she physically completes the motion. They backhand her with Phoenix Flame, knocking her unconscious again.
Not even looking when you backhand a master illusionist. That is not just fighting, that is an ego-destroying flex.
It is an awe-inspiring sequence, I agree, but I think we need to view this through a cautious, analytical lens.
Oh, how so?
Well, the anatomy of this victory relied heavily on the opponent's profound disorientation. They were fighting a target whose response to fatal damage was to become stronger. The psychological shock paralyzed their tactical thinking.
So they panicked.
If the protagonist had faced 3 prepared, disciplined experts, say, at the 6th layer, who understood these anomaly traits, the rebirth override might have been overloaded. This was a perfect storm of tactical surprise and anti-coordination targeting.
You are suggesting they were highly opportunistic, not necessarily invincible. But a win is a win, and the aftermath at Heaven's Split Basin is where the story shifts genres.
Very drastically, yes.
The battlefield goes dead silent. You have thousands of distant observers who came to watch the protagonist die. Instead, they are looking at 3 famous spirit transformation powers, broken, bleeding, and helpless. The protagonist has them dead to rights, and they execute them. Publicly.
This is the exact moment the narrative pivots from a tactical breakdown into geopolitical fallout.
But wait, executing them publicly guarantees their sex will hunt him down. From a pure survival standpoint, that is a terrible move, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why not take them hostage? Why not extort their sex for incredible diplomatic leverage?
It seems counterintuitive.
It feels like winning a debate and then burning down your opponent's house just to make a point. Isn't that just begging for a massive target on your back?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the choice is entirely about paradigm perception. Sparing them, or taking them hostage, maintains the illusion that the protagonist is still playing by the established rules of cultivation society.
That they're still playing the political game.
Right, that they are a talented junior trying to secure a seat at the table of the major powers. Publicly executing them sends a drastically different message. I am not playing your game. I am ending it. It changes the world's classification of them from a rival to an extinction-level event.
I want to break down these executions because the specific ways they kill these 3 experts are incredibly deliberate. It wasn't a frenzied slaughter, it was a systematic erasure of their status.
Yeah, a very clinical process.
Yeah, Han Guang is screaming at them, calling them a coward, demanding they finish it. The protagonist just places a foot on his chest and uses Dragon Bone Crush. A single downward application of force that shatters his sternum, ruptures his organs, and collapses his soul core. Instant death.
Brutal, but efficient.
And then they loot his Blood Mountain Saber in his Titan body manual right off his corpse.
The dispatching of Taoist Qianluo is equally clinical. Qianlu is crawling backward, attempting to activate an escape talisman. The protagonist raises a hand and fires a Phoenix Flame Lance, a highly concentrated beam of black-red flame. It pierces his Dantian and his Soul Sea simultaneously.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with those specific cultivation terms, what does that mean anatomically?
Exactly what it sounds like. Total systemic failure. The Dantian is the physical center of a cultivator's energy, located near the abdomen. The Soul Sea is the seat of their consciousness, housed in the mind. Piercing both simultaneously is the equivalent of destroying a computer's hard drive and its internal power supply in the exact same millisecond. He is dead before the escape talisman even sparks. And, naturally, the protagonist loots his damaged bells and lightning scriptures.
But the crowd's reaction to Lady Xu Ning's death is what really shakes me. She's kneeling there, wounded, silent. The text notes that the observers watched this execution the closest because, and I quote, "This death becomes legend."
Yes.
The protagonist lifts her by the throat and uses Eclipse Soul Burn.
The horror of the specific technique lies in what it leaves behind. They did not burn her physical body with external flame, they ignited her soul directly.
Just her soul.
Her physical vessel remains entirely intact, completely unblemished, but her consciousness is turned to ash. She dies without a single scream. It is a terrifying display of absolute surgical control. They take her Mirage Frost domain art and walk away.
Wiping someone's consciousness while leaving the body untouched, I mean, that is pure nightmare fuel. And the crowd realizes that the protagonist isn't just winning battles anymore, they are erasing the concept of hierarchy itself.
Which leads directly to the massive shift in how the wider cultivation world classifies them. Before Heaven Split Basin, they were labeled a genius. a dangerous upstart.
And after this public massacre,
They are officially classified as a sect-level catastrophe candidate.
a sect-level catastrophe candidate. That means the major powers don't treat you like a person. You are a natural disaster. You are a walking hurricane that requires evacuation protocols.
The righteous sects declare them a demonic anomaly that must be exterminated before it grows further. Interestingly, the dark sects suddenly begin drafting alliance proposals, viewing them as a chaotic asset.
Of course they do.
Bounties on their heads skyrocket to historical highs. Hidden, ancient ancestors of various factions start waking up to make contingency plans. The hidden consequence you mentioned earlier, creating united, vengeful enemies faster than you can kill them, becomes a real geopolitical reality.
Because the sects of the three dead experts demand blood.
By choosing public execution over diplomacy, the protagonist elevated themselves to a rogue, warlord-level threat.
So the entire cultivation world is either trying to hunt you down or recruit you for their own wars. You have a massive influx of stolen resources, spirit stones, rare ores, elite technique manuals, and spirit weapons from the people you just killed. What do you do next?
It is a critical juncture.
If it were me, I would find a very deep hole, bury myself, and hide for a decade.
Well, they do find a hole. Specifically, the Black Ash Rift, a region defined by its underground fire key veins. Key veins are essentially subterranean rivers of highly concentrated environmental energy.
But they don't retreat there to hide, do they?
No. They go there to initiate a terrifying, highly volatile breakthrough to the 8th layer of the soul transformation realm.
This part of the source material is where the protagonist crosses the line from ruthless to completely unhinged. Most cultivators spend years meditating on a tranquil mountain peak to advance their realm safely.
That is the standard safe protocol.
Our protagonist retreats to an active underground volcano because it's compatible with their fire physique and decides to force a breakthrough using forbidden fuel.
The term forbidden fuel here refers to the fragmented, extracted cultivation cores of the 3 spirit transformation experts they just murdered.
Which is crazy.
Under normal circumstances, absorbing foreign, highly contradictory energy from another person's core is an absolute taboo. It almost always leads to violent internal destruction.
It is like an organ transplant. But instead of the body just rejecting the organ is actively trying to murder the body.
A very apt comparison.
They are installing 3 hostile operating systems into their own hardware simultaneously. They're forcing this advancement using the stolen essence, their combat insights, and the sheer psychological momentum of terrifying the world.
The physical process described in the texts is harrowing. Their body essentially ignites. The phoenix blood burns away the impurities of the foreign cores, while the dragon eye compresses their soul structure to prevent it from fragmenting.
So much internal pressure.
But they have to physically and mentally dominate 3 violently resisting, fundamentally different foreign energies. Han Kuang's heavy blood saber force, Xu Ning's freezing frost, and Qian Luo's explosive thunder.
And doing this triggers what the text describes as a false inner tribulation. Usually a tribulation in these stories is a literal lightning storm from the heavens testing the cultivator's work.
Yes, a cosmic test.
But this isn't the heavens testing them. It is the ghosts of the people they just killed. They suffer soul-cracking pain, their energy pathways overheat, and they literally hear the phantom screams of the slain trio echoing in their mind. But they crush that psychological resistance with pure, unadulterated willpower, declaring to the MTKs the dead are nutrients.
The sheer force of that mindset forces the breakthrough. Their aura implodes inward, condensing massively, and then erupts outward in a dark gold flame shockwave so intense it permanently melts the stone walls of the Black Ash Rift into glass.
Wow.
They officially break through to the 8th layer of the soul transformation realm, entering what is known as the soul sovereign condensation stage.
So, after all that blood, fire, and phantom screaming, what exactly does the 8th layer give them? Is just punching harder and moving faster?
Oh no, it fundamentally alters how they interact with weaker entities. First, they gain an attribute called sovereign soul weight. Their mere physical presence heavily suppresses cultivators with lower soul density.
In what way?
The text notes that 5th or 6th layer soul transformation foes might involuntarily drop to their knees just by being in proximity to them.
Let me make sure I understand that. Is it like a gravitational force physically pushing them down?
It is more biological and psychological than gravitational. Think of it as a primal, instinctual terror, similar to a prey animal going completely paralyzed the moment an apex predator enters the room.
The body just shuts down.
The body shuts down in deference to a higher life form. Second, their eclipse domain expands dramatically. It becomes wider, denser, and incredibly difficult to shatter, effectively neutralizing the offensive capabilities of many early spirit transformation enemies.
And the third upgrade, because there has to be a massive payoff for consuming those three specific cores.
The most alarming upgrade is the achievement of triple element assimilation. By dominating those three foreign energies, they didn't just burn them away as generic fuel, they fully integrated their properties.
Though they kept the elements.
They now possess a partial affinity for thunder, frost, and brutal physical pressure. They can weave these elements directly into their native flame path. Furthermore, their phoenix regeneration becomes significantly faster while requiring far less energy drain.
So they can heal faster, project a domain that stops early spirit stage fighters, paralyze enemies with a look, and shoot lightning frost fire. It's no wonder the scouts who felt the tremors of this breakthrough reported back with pure dread. They even get a new title out of this, right? The world stops calling them the Black Flame Monster.
The world recognizes their new paradigm. They are now known as the Eclipse Sovereign Tyrant.
The Eclipse Sovereign Tyrant.
The sources specifically highlight that they are no longer just dangerous, they are efficiently dangerous. As an 8th-layer soul transformation cultivator, they can now directly threaten 6th-layer spirit transformation experts, utilize advanced tactics to handle 7th layers, and casually crush anyone remaining in the soul transformation realm.
What an absolute journey. From being severely outmatched in a dead crater to rewriting the laws of combat to becoming a walking catastrophe. So let's bring this all back for you listening. The theme of this entire breakdown really revolves around one core concept: assimilation versus destruction.
That is the philosophical core of their advancement.
In life, we often try to just block or destroy the things that attack us, but the Sovereign Tyrant strategy is entirely different. Whether it is the kinetic energy of a mountain-cleaving saber, the atmospheric suppression of a lightning storm, or the very souls of their enemies, they don't just endure it.
No, they absorb it.
Right. True invulnerability isn't about having an unbreakable shield. It is about having the capacity to metabolize your obstacles into fuel. They took the things designed to kill them and made them a part of their own anatomy. Your own personal rebirth override, if you will.
It is a brutal but undeniable mechanism for limitless scaling. But it raises a chilling question that I believe we must leave you to ponder today.
Oh, what is that?
The Eclipse Sovereign Tyrant's power now relies heavily on violently assimilating their enemies' unique essences. They consumed thunder, frost, and blood force, crushed the internal resistance, and made it their own.
Yeah, successfully.
It works beautifully when your willpower is absolute and the elements can be dominated. But what happens when they inevitably face an opponent whose core power fundamentally contradicts and rejects the tyrant's very existence?
Will they be able to dominate and absorb that too?
Or will the very act of consuming their ultimate enemy finally be the thing that tears them apart from the inside out?